Hey everybody, and welcome to a new segment on the channel, Ask Run. If you're not following on Instagram, make sure you follow on Instagram. Every week I ask you what are your most important and hard questions you want to ask me, and on this show I'll answer them. Stay tuned. This episode I'm talking a lot about clients, design career, struggles. It's going to be interesting. Let's rock and roll. All right, let's start with the first question coming up from Rodrigo. Work for global or local clients? Does it work to do prospectation in other language? All right, so I assume, Rodrigo, you're not coming from the US or something, because I think people in the US or in Europe don't look for global. They see themselves as global. But us people who don't live or live outside of maybe the big companies in the US or in Europe, a lot of times we idealize and want to work with big companies that might have more money from the clients. Where we're coming from, I'm based in Israel, so a lot of time for me, specifically in my country in Israel, there is not much of a design culture. So growing up and early on in my design career, I always fantasize about working with an amazing company from London or New York. They would have big budget and they would value design. So I can definitely feel where you're aiming from. And I think that's awesome. And working with big global companies can be great. However, I do think that if you're starting out, and specifically if you're a freelancer, a lot of the power I think that you have is working specifically with small companies and local companies. You have a great advantage because you can go and meet them face to face and you can develop relationship with them. I think that a lot of people, they admire and they want to have that remote lifestyle where they work, remotely, and they can work from anywhere with clients from anywhere. And I think that is great. But I think that if you are looking to work with local clients, you have a lot of advantage. If you're trying to compete with let's say the international remote working global clients, then you are basically have a competition that's everybody that's on the internet. But when you're just trying to work with the best clients in your location or, country or city, then you have way better chances of winning. So what I did personally in my history as a designer, and I would actually do again, I think if I would start off again today, is try to build relationship with the best clients locally and hopefully, leverage that as I go along to working with bigger and bigger clients and eventually reach out to bigger clients as I have already all those relationships with successful players in my local area. So my advice at the end of the day would be start local, move to global as you work alone. I think that's much easier than starting to try to work with global clients immediately. However, that does depend on where you're coming from. Maybe you're coming from a small village that doesn't have any good local clients, and then you must immediately reach out to clients that, are willing to work remotely with somebody else. However, I do say again, you'll have to find what's your competitive edge. You don't want your competitive edge to be low price, right? I'm based in India, so I can work with lower prices. You never want to compete on low price because the clients who only care about low price are not going to be good clients at the end of the day, whether they're global or not. So don't compete on price, but I would say start local, move to global. Next question coming in from Bass. Stupid question. I don't think there are stupid questions, but how do you get better artistically? I often get overwhelmed by the WWWA. I assume that's something like awards or something like that, where you see all these amazing works and you're overwhelmed and you're like, oh, I'm not that good enough. I'm not that artistic enough. How do you develop that artistic sensibility? And I think that is a great question, because a lot of the tutorials that we see on YouTube or Instagram and that we read about are technical things, right? How to do this one technical issue, but they don't teach you about the artistic and aesthetic sensibilities that you want to do beautiful work, you want to do beautiful things, and all the things that you see on the award sites are so beautiful. So how do you develop that artistic sensibility? So my approach to this, and I think there's a good book that's called Mastery, I think by Robert Greene, that talks a lot about how the great artists start. So I think if you're trying to become an artist in a way, it's smart to think of and learn what other successful artists along the years did. And what I read in the book, and I feel is also true for me, is that a lot of artists start off by not trying to be the most creative and most originally. A lot of them start off by working as assistants to other artists or just helping with the technical things and replicating the works of other people. They're doing it again and again, and by replicating and by, you can say, copying work of other people or working for other people, they slowly start to develop those sensibilities where they understand, yeah, this works, this doesn't work. And slowly over the years, they start to develop their own ideas on top of them. So at the end of the day, I say you need to learn and master the fundamentals, right? In the case of design, that is color, layout, typography, image making. Those are the basic that you need to learn. And if you try to look at the awards website or the best case studies and you try to think, why do they do that? Right? Maybe I don't know. Why do they choose this specific font size? Why do they choose this specific layout? But if you try to emulate that, I'm not saying rip off other people's work, but after you emulate, sometimes as a designer, as a junior designer, you emulate a lot of what you see out there. You don't bring out your own ideas to the table, but it takes time. And then later you start to think, oh, maybe I'll try to do this in a different way. So like the great artist did, learn and master the fundamentals by working and looking at the work of other people and slowly start to develop those artistic sensibilities. It's a lot of grind work. It takes a lot of doing. It's not something that you can read in a book and tomorrow you'll be an amazing artist. It takes a lot of grind to develop those sensibilities. All right, next question from Radu. What did you do at start to get clients? So it's funny, I've been freelancing for almost 20 years now. So I've actually did my first freelance project when I was back in high school, first paid project. And we just think, like, how did you do your first paid clients when you were in high school? How did you find that client? So actually, I didn't find the client. The client found me. But how did the client know to find me? It was basically because I was telling everybody around me that this is what I'm interested in, right? So that was pretty funny. I was really into drawing things. And so during classes, I used to draw, and then I would put my drawings on the wall. So the whole wall in the class was just kind of my galleries of my paintings. And so everybody knew that I'm into drawing. And then we had those kind of online communities. I think it was like IRC chats back in the day, like early 90s. And so I was playing around with Photoshop. So I started doing kind of logos for all my friends on those IRC channels. And so just because everybody knew I'm so passionate about this, eventually when, a father of a friend of mine knew that he needed some help with graphic design, he was asking his son, I don't know who, I need help with this. And he said, yeah, you know what, there's a guy in class with me that is super passionate about this. Maybe you'll talk to him. So I think that point to take away from this is to just show a lot of people, everybody that you know around you, that you're very interested in doing this, and those people will serve as your marketing at the end of the day, because when people know that you're interested in doing work, they can recommend you. Okay, so I didn't go and look for that, but enough people were on the know to know that if they hear somebody's looking for that, they can refer them to me. And that ended up scaling along the year into still what works for me today. Everybody knows that this is what I'm doing, right? I'm publishing my work on YouTube and on Instagram and on my Facebook, and I'm, telling all my friends that this is what I'm doing. Everybody knows that I'm passionate about this. Everybody can also see the quality of the work I'm doing, so they know they can refer other people who are in need to me. That's basically when somebody's looking to hire somebody, and it's designers, architect, doctors, whatever. The first thing they will do is to go and ask their friends, do you know somebody that you can recommend? And so if a lot of people know you and trust you, a lot of people would recommend you. And that's probably, I don't think many people actually go to Google and say, graphic designer in London. That's probably not what they're doing. They're probably asking their friend or posting on Facebook, hey, can you recommend me a designer for my business? Something like that. So you need all those people to serve as your marketing, to refer them to you. So they have to know what you're doing and what you want to do. All right. Next question. How would you get clients if you were brand new and didn't have portfolio to show off your work? So assuming I didn't do what I just told you I did in high school, if I would start new today without any portfolio, I would do basically what I did last week on the Pimp My Website show. I would find the people who I really want to work with, and I would find the opportunities to help them without even them asking me to do that. So if you didn't check out the last episode of Pimp My Website, here's a breakdown of what happened. I was following a lot of people. I follow on Twitter on a lot of people that interest me in the tech scene. And I saw one big shot investor that had a very interesting tweet. I checked out his website and turned out his website was super old and under optimized. And so I took the time to redesign his website and send it over to him as a gift. Now, again, I'm not looking for a client. I'm not telling him, dude, can you recommend me some clients? And I'm not asking for anything in return. I just did this, but that kind of put me on the radar for him as somebody who has design skill and who is helpful and a nice person. And so he chose, without me asking, to retweet my website and everything and gave me a shout out. And now all the people in his vicinity are also aware of me doing design work, And so that's probably what I would do. I would probably start out by listing the maybe 100 people that I'm most interested in working with, or not only the people that I want to work with, but also they are kind of a big shot in the industry that I'm working with. So I usually work with tech startups, but that doesn't mean that a lot of times tech startups get recommended the designer that they'll work with from their investors. So actually the investors, that's only in my niche, right? They serve as kind of connectors they know a lot of companies. And so I think every niche have these connectors, these people who know a lot of people. And if you build a relationship with them, whether it is by doing what I did, or just hanging out with where they hang out, or just open a conversation with them, if you develop a relationship with these connectors, I think that will dramatically increase your chances. However, going back to your question, how would you get your first clients? I would say I would get a steady job or a steady paycheck so I can start developing these relationships without a financial stress. Because if I would go out and I need money right now, I don't have time to develop, those relationships and have, help people or do any of that, because I just need clients tomorrow. And I probably, out of that stress, maybe pick up a wrong client, or a client that is not a good fit for me, or a client that is only interested in the lowest price. And so working and selling your services out of stress, out of financial stress, I think always causes you to make bad business decisions that are not the most helpful things for your future career. And so I would always recommend, if you're just starting out, get some kind of a job or a part-time or some retainer client or something like that, that you'll know that you have some income coming up, and that you're not operating your business out of stress mode for the whole time. I think this is key when you're starting out as a freelancer. Next question, how to be confident in what you are designing? All right, so here's the truth about this. I don't think you'll always be confident in what you are designing. To be honest, you never really know if this is the best solution or not. You make assumptions and you have, you're a professional, and so you say, here's the best solution I think for the job. Is it really the best solution? Is it going to convert? Is it going to sell? I don't know. Those are kind of assumptions, and this is the best that I can do for you right now. So the truth is, I'm not always going to be confident. However, and this is key, you need to remember that what your clients are actually buying from you as a freelancer is confidence, okay? They are super afraid. They don't know, if this is going to ruin their business, if they're going to get fired because they hired you, and they're very much afraid. And so when they hire you, basically they're paying you money to make them feel secure, as if they did the right choice. Now, if you're very open about, look, I don't know if this is a good idea to use blue for your design, you're actually not helping them, okay? So you need to I don't know if I would call this fake it till you make it. I don't think that's lying to them, but you need to be confident, right? And you need to sell them confidence in I think this is the best solution based on what I know. Those are the reasons why I think blue would be the best color for you, because X, Y, Z. I give them the reasons, even though I'm not 100% sure, I'm not confident, but I'm trying to explain, and I do that confidently, right? So even if I don't feel that way, to them, I present it confidently, like this is the best solution for, what we have right now. Again, I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee performance, but this is the best thing that we can do. And I tell them, trust me, right? You have to trust me. This is going to work, okay? So it is what it is. You're not always going to be confident, but you have to be confident to your clients, because otherwise you're not helping them. You have to give them confidence. Again, not sell them bullshit, but sell them confidence. All right. How would you react if a website did not have a conversion rate as expected? Will it be okay with the clients? So I think this is very, very important. When you start working with a new client, you set up expectation. You say, I'm not a magician. I can't, forecast the future. If I could forecast that this design will 10x your sales, I would, charge you 100% of the money that you're going to make. But I'm not a magician. I can't forecast the future. I am a professional, and I know, based on what I know, based on design theory, based on research, based on what I know, I think this is the best solution, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to approve this together. There is no guarantee in design. You cannot guarantee performance. You should follow up with your clients to understand if your design converted as expected or less, because this will give you more data for your next design, right? So you should be interested in that. If it didn't convert, maybe you can suggest a redesign. Maybe you can do something else to try to improve it as a different project. This is not based on the engagement that you have. Maybe those revisions are included or maybe not. But the point is, you have to be upfront. You have to say, we never know exactly. Those are our best guesses. We're going to put this out there. We're going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, we're going to do something else. But just be honest about it, because this is life. Okay, William, are you going to convert to the Wix X platform? Okay, so there is a new platform. I don't know if you saw the ad or a promo. Wix just launched. I think it's kind of a Webflow competitor. They've kind of did a more professional tool for designers that is not based on the templates of the normal Wix. And I think it looks really interesting. Will I convert to it? I don't know. I actually signed up to the beta, and I want to give it a try. So you guys probably know I'm super, super passionate about Webflow. I'm sold on Webflow. I'm selling a course teaching Webflow. The guys at Webflow are my friends, the founders. I love that company. However, Wix is a great company as well, and I have a lot of friends that work with Wix. Wix are an Israeli company, and so I think 70% of designers in Israel actually work in Wix. And I know this is a phenomenal company. They're a really great company. And so if they're doing this, I'm going to try it. They also have a big ecosystem of already apps and business services that integrate. So I think this is really interesting. I don't know if this is a better solution. Maybe I'll switch to it. I don't know yet. I didn't give it a try, but I will definitely give it a try. All right, Eleonora, last question for today. What was the hardest moment in your design career so far? Okay, I think that the hardest moment in my design career so far was probably when I started my second job, and it was in an advertising agency. So the first job I had as a designer, I was working doing kind of like banner ads for an online casino company. That was kind of not really a design job. It was, I don't know if to even call this a design job, but when I moved into a real kind of advertising agency, I actually, to make that move, I was really, I wanted to become a real designer. And so I was really impressed by all that, working with big companies, doing billboards, and your work would be seen by a lot of people. They were all working on fancy Macs, and I wanted to be part of that culture, that design culture. But the truth was that, I came there, I actually made less money. I was also working night shift and working on really, really boring things like, advertisements for air conditioning, where I would just lay them out in a grid, like very, very boring work that I had to do. And again, I was kind of like the lowest level junior designer. And I would say it wasn't treated very well. All the art directors would kind of look down at you and never listen to your work. So you would end up just being kind of a technician. And it was very, very far from what I wanted to become. And for me, that was a big struggle. I didn't really know at the time what I want to be when I grow up, right? If I want to dive into the design industry, go to design school and learn. But what I did know is that I didn't like this feeling of some designers are better than me, looking down at me and telling me what to do. Immediately, I understood that I want to be the one coming up with ideas and maybe having a more kind of like conceptual role where I actually try to solve problems and not just do technical work. You know, I loved Photoshop and I love the technical tools, and that's why I got into design from the first place. However, I was really frustrated from my situation there, being at the bottom of the pyramid and just, again, not making a lot of money, working hard hours, having people kind of treat you badly or look down at you. I think that was probably the lowest part in my career. It did kind of motivate me to go and spend 4 years in design school so that, I don't know if this was kind of, I was obviously interested in design, but it was also something like, I don't want these people with design degrees to look up at me, and tell me that they are smarter than me. Maybe it had to do something with that. Today, obviously, there are other alternatives and you don't have to go to a full-on 4-year design school. But for me, I think that was kind of my escape plan from that perhaps dead-end job in a big advertising agency. All right, this is all for today for the first Ask Ron show. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this show. Would you like to see more of this? And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.